So we talk a lot about conversion rate optimization, the idea of, anything you do to get traffic on your website, that brings the horses to the water, but conversion rate optimization, it makes the horses drink. So it's about how you get leads, how you get that primary, maybe it's leads, donations, whatever your business is, what's that primary call to action? So we talk a lot about that, but today, Linda, we are going to do something different. We are going to talk about that, but we are going to roast a website, aren't we?
Yeah. I'm really excited.
All right. We'll think about it.
I hope they're equally excited.
So long-term listeners might remember years ago or a while ago, we used to do can we fix it? It's kind of like that, but Linda really liked the roast my website better. So hopefully we don't offend anyone today. Today, we're going to talk about a website called Studiosity. And what Studiosity does, and in full transparency, spoke to a lovely woman from Studiosity earlier today, actually. And they are what you call an edutech product. Mm-hmm. So education technology product. I had a good chat with them. It took me a minute to understand what they do. But before, Linda, we start sharing our screens and kind of like unpacking it or roasting it and making recommendations, how would you explain what Studiosity does and who they target?
Okay, so from what I've seen, and disclaimer, I've looked at this website for about 20 minutes, so I don't have a lot of knowledge on what they do. But from what I can gather reading through, what I can see is they are a company who have an AI-powered academic support platform. So they're targeting universities, and that universities will have this software that is a value add or part of their LMS or whatever for students so that they can submit their work, get feedback and pointers on the type of work to improve that work that they're submitting to the university. They also then have these like AI-powered 24/7 like peer support available too. So it's targeting the university.
Yeah,
with
and the students
AI
are going to
support.
use it. Yeah,
Students will use it.
It seems like a really, really cool tool. We didn't have this stuff back when we were at uni, where it, because the support, especially big classes in first year, the support you get from lecturers and tutorial, teachers, it can be quite limited. So from just the screenshots that I could see, like you can go in there, it will say, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about this? Like it's like guiding and coaching you, which is a very different proposition to AI, which is just kind of giving you stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the only AI we had back in the day was Turnitin, and I didn't like that AI.
Yeah,
the
that's
plagiarism
right.
one.
It was very easy to game actually as well.
Was it?
It was, because it'd be like, it's 81% unique or 90% unique, and it would tell you what, and then you would just play with it.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it was different in Psych. They wouldn't let you submit it and then change it.
Oh, right, okay.
It was just a one hit.
University of Western Sydney, they're a bit looser.
People idiot.
I don't care if they know it. University of Sydney, Western Sydney. All right, anyway, so if you want to check out the video version of this episode and follow along with what we're looking at and the case study we're looking at today, head on over to redpandas.com.au/EP185. All right, awesome. So we are going to talk about the most important part of a website. This is probably responsible when someone goes to your website, brand new, fresh, for the biggest amount of bounce you'll ever have. And that is what we call the one-liner. So you go to Studiosity, you guys have a rough idea of what they do. Mind you, Linda spent 20 minutes on this website and she figured out some of it. Your prospects are not going to do that. They're going to be there for 10 seconds. They're barely going to get below the fold. That's the part that appears before you scroll. Barely. I had a lovely chat with someone from Studiosity. It took me a while to figure out what they do. Currently, the one-liner, it's not really a one-liner, but the headline on the website is AI for learning, not corrections. I'll repeat that. AI for learning, not corrections. I still don't know what that means.
Yeah, so Moobs, you asked me what I thought this company did off the bat without me researching them. And when I looked at their one-liner or their H1 on their homepage, AI for learning, not corrections, I thought that what they did was they teach people how to use AI to learn off it and learn better with AI, which is
interesting.
It's super broad and it's the incorrect product.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when your prospects land on your website and they're doing the tab test and they're trying to determine what product is going to help them solve the problem that they have, they're going to look at this one-liner. And right now, what this website's one-liner is doing is causing that person to burn too many calories trying to figure out what exactly it is that they do and whether they can even help me.
Yeah. And even if it's a product like this, like I understand there's not many businesses in the edutech space that do this. There's not a lot. And even if you have like a monopoly on this technology and what you do, like Linda says, if you're getting the consumer or the prospect to burn too many calories, even if they're the right fit, even if they're the right ICP, the ideal customer profile, it's going to cause friction, anxiety. It's going to delay a purchasing decision because it's like, oh, look, I don't get it. This is too difficult for me right now. Right? Underneath the current one line that says defensible AI writing and academic support for your students, the world's leading ethical support with a 4.4 X return for your university as retained students. I know what that means now after speaking to the people at Studiosity and diving into it. But that's a lot, right? Now, here is the rule that applies for one-liners, right? Here's the litmus test if your one-liner is useless. What I mean by useless, I don't mean to be rude. We did say this was a roast. What I mean is like you might as well not really have it. Like it's not doing you any favors. There's 3 things we look for. So this is the test to determine whether or not your one-liner has any value. 3 things we look for. 1 is could it apply to any business? Now this one doesn't suffer from that too much, but actually in a way it could. AI for learning, not corrections, right? So often we see more egregious versions of a one-liner, like the number 1 place for, customer centricity or, technology leading solutions.
Innovator, yeah.
Today's solutions for tomorrow. It's like, that could be for any business.
Yeah.
And the moment it could be for any business, let alone your industry, that's a waste. So we always talk about being clear, not clever.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, does it make sense? And in this case, it really doesn't make sense. And the third thing is like, is it really clear who this is for?
Yeah.
And if we go deeper in terms of who this is for, what is it that you actually offer? And what are the problems you solve and the solutions you offer? Seems like a lot, but it's actually really not that difficult. But thoughts on you, Linda, before we talk about a hypothetical one-liner for these guys?
I think as well, so Moby is absolutely touching on all the emotive stuff, and that's the most important thing that you need to do in your one-liner. What I will add to that, though, is once you kind of nail that emotive side to things, it's also worth looking at the types of keywords that your prospects are searching in Google and trying to weave those keywords into maybe not your one-liner, but the subheading directly below it. So it's extremely clear on what you do and what you offer. And it also resonates with the types of words that your prospects are using. I had a very quick look on SEMrush to see what sort of keywords people are typing, and then it's very niche. There's not a lot of search volume, but like academic support platform for universities. See how it's like for universities, AI powered tutoring for higher education, AI powered study assistance for students. So it's integrating the keywords, which number 1 means that you'll rank because Google will know exactly what it is that you do. It will resonate and be clearer in terms of what it is that you offer. That kind of padded with all that emotive stuff that Moby spoke about is how you elevate above the fold here.
The examples you gave there, even the keywords, it's actually not a perfect one-liner, and you were just sharing the keywords, but even those keywords there, it had what they offer and who was it for.
Who it's for.
It's still not a one-liner because it's not talking about the problem that it solves or the problem would be a pain point or the gain point that it delivers.
Yeah.
It's still not that.
Yeah.
So this is a hypothetical. Now, one tip that we'll say before I share it is what we recommend when we do one-liners and a story brand for our clients, there is, and this is something not we invented this from the story brand framework, you have a short, shorter, shortest. So you have like a nice one-liner. To be honest, you probably wouldn't put the whole one-liner on the website. You might take a part of it and put it in a byline, but you can be used for brochures, introductions, email signatures, like whatever. It can be used in like a sales pitch or a sales deck, right? But the idea is you start with that, and it forces you to go short, shortest, shortest, or short, shorter, shortest, right? So let me kind of give a short one, and then let's cut it down. So we help universities improve student retention and course completion by providing AI-driven academic support tools that guide students to success. Goes on, delivering a proven 4.4x ROI through better grades, reduced overwhelm, and increased student satisfaction. Now that's quite long, but if I was going to cut that down, and by the way, we haven't done StoryBrand on this. This is just taking whiffs from what we can find from the internet, right? You do it properly, but a hypothetical could be cutting all that down to, we help universities improve student retention by providing AI-driven academic support tools that guide them to success.
So much clearer.
Right? So does it have all the ingredients? Does it have the problem? So the problem, by the way, won't just be, to solve your problem, like there's an inherent problem here. That audience knows retention is a problem.
Student retention.
They know like it's half the battle. It was really interesting learning this. In Western markets, by the way, we struggle more with retention than Eastern markets do. We just must be lazy. I don't know what it is, right? But they know that's the problem, right? Student retention. So we help universities. This is who it's for. We are for universities. We help this problem. So we improve retention. And this is how we do it with AI-driven academic support tools. And if you can fit it, that guides students to success.
I love the what's in it for me as well. That 4.4% or X return on investment. Yeah. That's really eye-catching. And statistics and numbers are always great.
Exactly. And I think that could be used as, we saw it's not always obviously the case, but what's quite common with StoryBrand websites, you have that and then you have like 3 key USPs, like boom, boom, boom. I think they're not doing that 4.4x justice enough.
Yeah.
I think could be pulled out as you have the one-liner, you have a byline, you might have like a logo bar, which we'll talk about social proof properly. But then you go like boom, 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 3 key USPs, and one is like 4.4x average ROI.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a sec? Because what I did notice on the homepage, and I'm kind of moving away from above the fold, like Moby said. So you've got the screen when you land on the homepage. Below that, he mentioned social proof, which we'll get into, and then below that, he's talking about unique selling points. 4.4x return is a unique selling point, and it's benefit driven, not feature driven. So one thing that I noticed on this homepage is that there's too many features, not benefits. Like, it'll be 24/7 availability, for example. But what if that was, instead of a feature like that, it's a benefit, like, frees up X amount of hours for faculties. Like I said, the tangible number is amazing. So, shown to free up over, 15 hours per week for the faculty.
Yeah.
As opposed to just 24/7 availability. 24/7 availability as well is talking to the student. It's not talking to the uni. So we've got to think about who's the decision maker, who's the buyer on your page. It's the university person.
Yeah,
so we need to talk to them. Yeah, it's not about student outcome. It's about how it helps the university.
Yeah, and it's just framing it, right? It could still be 24/7 support, but it's like freeing up your team and supporting students in the process or something like that.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, if you scroll later below, some of this is a bit of a hierarchy of content. So hierarchy of content is like, what are the most important to least important things? If you scroll down, they've got these 4 icons like 24/7, 365, academic integrity, scale, and impact. Like you could take that kind of block, move it up. You would get rid of most of these. The 24/7 is not bad. You'd put the 4.4 ROI X as well, and then maybe something else. Before we move off the top, this is really interesting because this is an international business. And so I know you can do this in WordPress. WordPress is great. It's not great software, great CMS. Red Pandas, we only code in HubSpot. And one thing that you can do in HubSpot and WordPress, and I'm sure most CMSs out there, is have IP-based messaging on where that person's coming from. So if in Western markets, retention is the key thing, you focus on retention in the one-liner. If they're coming from an Eastern market or Asia or whatever, you can change that. You can make that different as well. Same thing with logos. You might have, for instance, in the Australian market, you might have trusted by 90% of, I know they're quite saturated in Australia. They have most of the Australian universities. You might say trusted by 90% of universities. For the US market, you might have, so all of our universities, I don't know how many of them are in the top 10 or top 100, but you could be like, used by, 10 out of the top 100 universities on earth, whatever it is. So that's really, really key. Let's move on to social proof, because that's the other big, big one. And the amazing thing is there is incredible social proof here, but it's
too
not,
low.
it's too low. It's not based on the hierarchy of content.
Yeah.
It's not where it should be. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've created this saying internally, which is when you think you've done enough social proof, double it. And now our clients are also saying that, which is really nice as well. But it really, really works. And in an era where everyone is online and making online decisions, you need to give them that. You need to show that you're credible and that they can trust you and that they're not going to make a bad decision. So above the fold, like Moby said, is the most important place where you can add social proof. Social proof looks like logos of universities that you're working with. It's Google My Business reviews, like the star ratings as well, having that maybe above your one-liner or directly next to your call to action button, which we're going to talk to. But in key places where people are paying attention is where you want to add your social proof. It's case studies as well as testimonials as well.
Exactly, both of them.
It's really easy to slap on a logo on a website, and
It's almost expected now.
yeah, it's expected. And to a degree, people don't buy it because everyone knows that, you could have worked with them on this tiny micro project, not delivered your core service, and that gives you.
I've seen startup agencies have the Coca-Cola logo.
Yeah.
Because someone subbed who subbed.
Someone knew someone who knew someone.
Subcontracted, and then I've also seen this happen. They worked there.
Yeah.
Or they worked somewhere that worked with them, and then they cheekily put that there. So
yeah,
you touch on one thing that I don't want to lose. It's really, really important, particularly with B2B, particularly in high touch industries or high consideration industries, where so that also includes like home improvement services and courses and stuff. And you said like you want them to realize that they're not going to make a mistake, because these days it's less about FOMO, like fear of missing out, and more about it's less FOMO and more FOMO. So it's not fear of missing out, it's fear of messing up. Your purchases,
I like that,
and your points of contact, they don't want to make a mistake. They would rather they'd rather take the risk averse path and stick to the status quo than make a mistake. That is so key for the B2B market.
Yeah.
I'll just stick with this, even if it's like playing it safe, and even if it means like the business doesn't have outcomes. It doesn't mean they don't care about their jobs. They just don't want to make a mistake.
They don't want to go backwards.
They'd rather stay there. So then when you say, Linda, like if you think you have enough social proof, double it. Some cases almost triple it. It's to show them, like, it's just to smash them with the social proof that there is no way these are all fake. And not that It's not about the fakeness. That's not it. It's just about reinforcing that fear in the head that I'm going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, if we go back to Studiosity, you've got the one-liner, you've got the video. It's going directly into the product right away. It's a very, very short video, which I love the logic, and I understand the objective here, but it's just not executed right. So it's a short video, and then when the video ends, it's not happening now to my machine, but then a pop-up call to action appears, which we need to touch on as well. So we'll go back to call to action because we're talking about social proof. So you should have some social proof above the fold, where it might be like the row of logos. And then as you go on, you could literally have 3 key case studies. So if I scroll all the way down where they're going to have a lot of drop off, there is University of Greenwich, University of Western Sydney, University of New England, and there's these beautiful numbers: 7%, 15% uplift, 10% uplift, 44% uplift, like crazy. Bring that all to the top.
Yeah.
Because it means less here. I think that, I don't know if you've got any other thoughts on that, but maybe I think we go to call to actions, because it's something you highlighted to me. Call to actions and the categories of call to actions that they should be looking at.
Yeah. So I can see that we don't have a hard or a soft call to action on the homepage. A hard call to action is when you're talking to the person who is ready to buy, they're ready to go, they want to get in touch and go for it. And then your soft call to action is for the person that is a few decisions away from that. They know you exist, they want to learn more about you, And we want to kind of guide them on that journey to keep learning from us with something. So to go back to the hard call to action, that could be something like a free trial. Again, I don't know if that's possible.
We don't know enough about the product, but a demo or trial works great in SaaS.
Yeah, or to talk to someone from Studio City, something where they can like actually interact with the product or get in contact with the Studio City team. And then you've got a soft call to action, which could be something like, what do we say, Mobes? Like a calculator, for example.
Yeah,
something that they can learn more about to kind of help them make the decision on whether you're the vendor that they want to choose.
Yeah.
So it could be a calculator. It could be something downloadable where they give you their details. That's what we call a lead magnet. So what that means is it's a value exchange, right? They see that lead magnet as something valuable enough to give you their details that you can then use to nurture them with email marketing.
I would say have both. I would actually have both. You'd have that in another place. And look, the beauty of sitting here and not knowing enough about the business and how it works, we can make these ideas,
you
right?
Should do that.
Exactly. Well, I get that, 100% get that. But like something like a calculator, what could that look like? You've got these great testimonials here and these great figures here. So again, I'm speaking from ignorance here, but you could have like, how much could I save, or ROI calculator. And it could be simple numbers, like for instance, for a particular course or for a particular faculty, you know, like whether it's the revenue or whatever. And then like you put in your current churn. A lot of universities should know that. They should have that. What's your current average churn? And then you'd have something that spits out that, okay, your current average churn is this. With Studio, and you said Studio City. I think it's Studiosity.
Oh.
But now I'm
Studio City.
I think it's Studiosity, but I think so. So forgive us for getting that wrong. But then it could have with Studiosity what it looks like after. And then you could I would actually try to do this. I would definitely do my best to try to do this, is give a revenue figure where you just put a number of like revenue, you put a number of churn, and then you put like the phone number, and then there's a call to action, get in touch, get a demo, free trial, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more we could talk about, but I think the one-liner, being very clear what you do, your solution, your problem, and problem doesn't, when I say, that's why we share this example, because people think, I don't want to talk about problems. No, we talked about the positive, you know, the solution to that problem with the inherent problem. You've got the one-liner there, the social proof, the call to actions. Just those 3-4 things would do a world of difference when it comes to call to actions. But before we end this, just want to give you sort of the final word there, Linda. Any thoughts before we wrap up the show?
The only other thing probably to touch on is just the main navigation. So people read from left to right. And so what you want to do with your main nav is have the things that are most important to them, what's the word I'm looking for? Starting from left to right, right? So you've got pricing. We know pricing is what people will always look for.
Yep.
We're missing that from the main nav. And if we were to add that to the main nav, it should be on the far left-hand side. And we should just reorder these things in the navigation so that way they suit people's intent as they're looking on your website.
There's more questions and answers we have right now, like the pricing structure, whatever, but you're absolutely right, you know. And pricing, by the way, it could still, don't do a bait and switch where you give them a form. That's really annoying. It could be a guide, it could be a range, absolutely. And there's a student sign-in, but the site is for, I think I know why that's there, because they probably find the site when they're searching for the tool. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, Linda. I think that's plenty, and appreciate it. And we'll join everyone next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Inbound Buzz. Learn anything? Return the favor by spreading the word. Want to make your mark in digital? Need help with your digital strategy, inbound, and marketing automation efforts? Then visit redpandas.com.au and be sure to tune in next time for another Inbound Buzz hit.